Well, so what's our upgrade today? This is my 2016, I think it's a 16, yeah, Forest River Flagstaff 832 IKBS. We've had it for a little over 2 years now. We use it quite a bit. We've probably got 140, 150 days in it to that point, or to this point. And the steps are starting to get trashy. They've been fine for what they are, but they're getting a little bit of rust. Powder coat's starting to flake off in a few spots. And really, the biggest annoyance is that they've gotten a little twisted, or they've been like this the whole time. So when you step on the bottom step, and that clunk, depending on how you're coming down the stairs, really rattles through the camper. You can see what it is a space here. It's just twisted. I usually take a couple of zip ties and go around this like that and pinch this together and hold it so then you don't get the clunk, but it still bounces the trailer. And yeah, they're just kind of crummy. They're wearing out. And they weren't terribly well installed. Let's see if I can get some light in here for you. You can see the bottom frame over there. It's just got this one big cockeyed bolt up here and one little tiny screw back there, which is falling out. I noticed the last time I was out, both of the bolts on this side had fallen off. So that's a small self tapper with a key used as a washer to put it in there to hold it till we get home, and it worked. But all that crap's coming out once we get the stairs out. What I'm not happy about really with this installation is, I mean, look at how cockeyed that bolt is. I mean, it's like way off. The same thing over here. So there's no way to get that thing out there as a unit. You got to go in here and get these out, and then this will drop, and then you can get this bracket out. So that's what we're gonna do now. Looks like, I think those are, oh, they're 9/16. I think they are. Yep, 9/16. What a piece of crap. Okay, so now go back and jiggle it around enough to get these carriage bolts out. Not terribly light, but it's off. faster. I actually think the Glowstep is lighter. Wow. Okay. What a mess. This thing is so terrible. The interesting thing, or maybe not, is this is, let me show you something. I don't know if you can see it, but this is bent in. And it might have been from when my tire exploded. You can see my repair in there, which is held up well. That one's not so bad. But what I've got is, come here, I need 27 3/8-ish for the frame. And I've got it's easier with, well, I've got 27. So I basically need to pick up 3/8 of an inch in width, sorry about that camera, with this setup. I think I can. I don't think it'll be too bad. I may end up having to move these holes over here a little bit to re-support the bracket, but I don't think it'll be too terrible. I really don't want to take this whole thing off to have to look under there, but if worst comes to worst, I will. The nice thing though is the Glowstep says that it doesn't need to be attached in the back. It only needs to be attached from these hangers. So as long as I make these hangers super sturdy and do that, I can get rid of this stupid garbage. Whatever that idiocy is, I can cut those right off. I'll probably leave the back tabs just because that's handy to have something to bolt onto. But yeah, this won't be too bad. I just, right now I'm going to do is pull these brackets off and see what we can do. Screw with the key to hold that plate in, because that other one had fallen out. That fell out. It's a good stout screw. It was actually pretty good. Yeah, these rear brackets are welded, so we're just going to leave those. These are pretty stout. What's going to be interesting is getting my 3/8 or 3/16 on each side. I don't think it's going to be too bad because it's only one bolt that's holding it up and that thing in the back. I'm just going to have to slot these a little bit this way, and that should do it. Then I can re-drill that hole in the back, and that'll give me my dimensions. As my shock and amazement might have it, three of the mounting holes actually line up. So that's going to work pretty well. And that's with good clearance in the back for that back piece to mount. So, very good. If If I can get my 3/16 on each side, we're going to be in business. Alright, so we got the hole slotted a little bit. They, let's say, definitely look like I did it. They are not pretty, but plenty of meat left, so I'm not too worried about it. Now we're going to take a measurement and see what we got. Still just a touch shy, but again, these bend in a little bit, so I think I'm going to be able to flex them and get the distance that I need. Alright, so now I can get my 27 3/8 that I need, but the way, because these stupid bolts are cocked, every time I tighten it up, it twists this in like that, so I'm going to end up having to leave this a little bit loose till I get the upper frame in, and then once I get the upper frame attached at the right width, I'll be able to crank this down and it'll hold it square. That'll also show me where I need to shoot my holes in the back. So that's our next step. The nice thing about these is you can actually take them apart and take the whole guts out of it and just deal with the frame separately. And that's what I'm going to do. Maybe, if I don't drop them on myself. But I got to pull them out the rest of the way, and then this bolt and spacer comes out on each side, and that will allow the whole guts to drop, and then I can deal with the frame by itself. Alright, so this is much easier to work with now, because it doesn't weigh anywhere near as much. And I like the hardware that came with it, but the hardware that came with my trailer I think is actually a little bit better. So we're going to see what we can do here as far as getting this thing put up into place, which may be more entertaining than I bargained for. Okay, so it definitely will fit. It's going to be snug, but we can come forward a good ½ inch with it in the slots the way that I've got it set up, so that's not going to be that big a deal. But what I need to do now is snug these things up as best I can, because I'm going to have to drill those back ones without this frame in it. I'm going to have to shoot those without the frame in it. So I need to get all of this squared up first, and then I can start doing this kind of stuff. But much like with the other one, it's going to be real snug getting the bolts in, or getting the nuts on. So that will be what it is. But no, for a first test fit, that looks pretty good. Now we're going to pull it back off and start getting the A-frames nailed down. Alright, so I used my trusty floor jack and a board, jacked up on these, put my screws in the back. We're solid now. Now look at it, I have right at about 27 1/4 in the front, but this is kicked in a lot because this is tight. And in the back, right at about 27 3/8 where we need to be. So all I think I'm going to have to do is loosen this bolt just a little bit, let this flop a little. That's going to allow me to get that wedged up in there and get some bolts in, and then we're going to be able to start putting it together, I hope. It's pretty good. We're going to Let's see if we can get the fasteners on. I think I'm going to have to get some tape for that. Looking at it, I think I am going to actually use the fasteners that came with the kit because they're a little bit longer than my carriage bolts. And they'll be easier to tighten up because I have very little room in here to actually get in there and get stuff on. So I'm not really going to be able to spin it. And of course the carriage bolt has a slotted head or square head that stops it from spinning. If it went in the other direction, that'd be fine, but that's not how this works. So just replace these. Yeah, that's much better with the carriage bolts. Let's see if we can do it without dropping it on myself. And now we can try to get the washers and nuts started, and that's where the tape trick comes in. So I've got my nut, my lock washer, and my flat washer together like that so they can stay together, and I'm going to try to get that up in there and then turn the inside bolt to try to get it to bite on the threads. Let's see if pulling this out. And that's how you do it. Now, 3 more times, and we can start snugging them up. Second one. It never works that easy. Third. Real snug on this side. Beauty. And the last one we got to make. Number 4. I knew one of them wouldn't work. That's alright, we'll pack it again. Try it again. The hard part with this is it is super snug on this side, and getting this to line up with the angle, it's a little bit fiddly. But then she works. Okay. Now one of the other instructions on this thing said to pull it as flush to the front of the coach as possible. That is about there. And now we're going to tighten them up. So that, oh, that is nice and solid. I am really impressed. That is super solid. And the nice thing is the rest of the steps hardly weighs anything. And as I said in the beginning, the combination of this step assembly is lighter than the original crummy steel step assembly. So even though it's held on with the same type of fasteners, it's actually the fasteners are doing less work because the thing's lighter. So I'm pretty pleased with it. You can see this is pretty darn light. One. I can do this. Two. Oh man, I like that already. I like that already. And it even comes with the right Allen key that you need. Snug these up. Let's see if that might be too tight. Oh wow. That is pretty darn impressive. That is pretty darn nice. Oh wow. I don't even have any of my stabilizers down and the coach is not even moving. Let's see how they close. What's it say? Lift here to deploy to close, fully decompress and lift from this step. Wow. I don't know. I think that is better than I expected, to be honest. Because that's not cheap. Those are not cheap, and you don't find them with price breaks on them either. But that is a really, really nice setup. Gotta let go of the handle after you pull it out. Yeah. Boy, you can't beat that with two sticks. So. fiddly, but man, that is so much better than those old crummy steel steps. That is an exceptional upgrade. So I'm pretty darn happy with that. Now this is a, I believe, what is it? I think it's an A8003, which is, as we were showing when we were measuring it, not quite 27 and a half, half wide, about 27 3/8 wide in between these brackets. And when I initially did my research on these back in January of this year, they didn't have anything recommended for the 832IKBS or the Rockwood. I think it's the 8329SS, same thing, just different name. But I noticed when I went to order them and check it again, they did have one recommended, and they recommended a 25-inch step, which obviously would work, but you'd need to put some spacers in it. And I got an email from the lady at the place back in January that told me about the dimensions of this one, and I sent her pictures and all the dimensions of my unit, and she said, well, if you can get an extra 3/8 clearance in between those, you can use the wider step. So keep that in mind if you're looking at the wider 27-inch step will absolutely, the 27-inch overall step will absolutely fit. You just got to notch out these holes in the factory brackets and gain about 3/8 of an inch. And after you've done that, the rest of it is super simple. And don't forget the tape trick for getting those nuts, washers, and things on the bolts holding this thing in. So I'm real happy with it. We're done.